Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, you are Senshi, who's a warrior monk studying at the temple under the current master. You and your fellow students train vigorously every day to improve your mind and body. But the master's dying and only one Senshi can be chosen to replace him. Senshi is a strategy game for 2 to 4 players, takes only 15 minutes to play. It's ages 14 and up and is published by Arcane Wonders. It's a battle of wits where you're trying to have the tallest scoring pile of any of the 4 attributes, strength, agility, wisdom, and honor at the end of the game, but you'll have to watch your opponents carefully because the player with the shortest pile is eliminated. Today, we'll be doing a rule school where I'll teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. Now I've placed timestamps below me in the description of this video, and just in case you want to jump to a certain section of the rules. Without further ado, let's get started. Senshi is a strategy game for 2 to 4 players where you're trying to have the single largest stack at the end of the game to win. But you must be careful because if you have the single smallest stack, or even tied for that, then all of those players are eliminated. Over the course of the game, you'll be taking stacks from the center that have the types of tiles that you'd like. You'll be stacking these on your training card, hoping to score these a little bit later. You can take the top tile from your own training card, or from an opponent's training card, or even from the stack that's in the middle of the table, and you place it in your hand. And you'll be taking those tiles from your hand and placing them down to score, but be careful, it will also score the top tiles of opponents as well. Can you outthink your opponents to make sure you have the tallest stack while not having the smallest stack? Senshi is a quick 15-minute game for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, that will keep you thinking and reacting to your opponents. To set up, each player is going to take one of these 4 training cards. They all work the same, so just take the one of the artwork that you like the best of the warrior monk that's in the upper right of each of these. If you're playing with less than 4 players, the ones not selected can be placed back in the box. You will not need them, and you'll take the training card that you've selected and place it right in front of you. Next, place all of the tiles on the table and place them face up, meaning you can see the logos on the top of them. Now you may be removing some of these depending on the amount of players. As shown here, if you're playing with 4 players, you won't remove any of the tiles. If you're playing with 3 players, you'll remove 3 tiles from each of the 4 different color groups. And if you're playing with 2 players, you'll remove 6 tiles of each group. Now when removing these tiles, you take those removed tiles and place them back in the box. You won't need them for this game. Now I'm going to be showing a 4-player game, so I did not remove any tiles. After you've removed any tiles needed, mix all the tiles up just like you see here because it will be easier to randomize them. Next, randomly take 3 tiles and stack them together just like that, and you'll do this until all of the tiles are in stacks of 3, just like that. So here's what it might look like when you're done setting up with a 4-player game, and you want to put these in the middle of the table, but keep them separated enough from each other so that each player can see each of the 3 tiles that are in each stack. You can also double check now to make sure you have the right amount of tiles, that you did not make a mistake while setting up. For 2 players, you'll have 16 stacks. For 3 players, you'll have 20 stacks, and for 4 players, you'll have 24 stacks. Now, whoever most recently saw a martial arts movie will be the first player, and starting with that player and going clockwise, each player will take 1 stack of these tiles into their hand, keeping in mind that throughout the game, the tiles in your hand are secret from the other players, but of course you can look at them. Over the course of the game, you'll be adding stacks from the middle of the table to your training card. You'll also be taking some tiles from your training card, adding them to your hand, and you'll be at some points scoring specific types of attributes on your scoring piles like strength, agility, wisdom, and honor. The object of the game is to have the single tallest scoring stack of any color at the end of the game. However, before that's decided, the player or players that has the single smallest scoring stack will be eliminated from the game. So you want to have the tallest single stack, but you don't want to get eliminated by having the single smallest stack or even tied for that. Over the course of the game, players will take turns in a clockwise manner until the last stack in the middle of the table has been taken, which will trigger the last round of the game. On a player's turn, you're going to take one of the 3 possible actions on your turn. The first possible action is to study, which is simply take any one stack from the middle of the table. You get to pick any of the stacks that are remaining, and you must take all of the tiles that are in that stack. Without rearranging what order that stack is in, you'll place it on any one of the 3 open spots on your training card. You can only take this action if you have an open spot. So if you already have 3 stacks on your training card, you cannot take the study action. After taking your single action, the next player clockwise would then take their single action, but I'm going to go over all the other possibilities of actions. The next thing you could possibly do is to train, and it's the middle of your training tile there. It says take 1 tile. Now to do this, you would take the top tile of any stack that you can see, except for these scoring stacks. Now over the course of the game, we haven't talked about this yet, but players are going to start putting tiles below in their scoring stack. During this train take 1 tile, you cannot take those tiles at all. What can you take? You can take the top tile of any stack that's on your training card, or any opponent's training card, or any of the stacks that are still in the middle of the table. In this case, I want this player's red, so I'll take it. And when you take these, you always keep it in your hand with any other tiles you may have in your hand, keeping in mind those tiles in your hand are secret from others throughout the game. The last possible option is to test. Now remember, you're only doing 1 action on your turn, but this is the final option you have, is to play 1 tile. So you take any single tile from your hand and you'll play it down in front of you into the scoring pile that corresponds with that tile. In this case, it's agility because it's green, but it also has the same written logo there. Then each player will take the top tile from their stack, if they have that color, and add it to their score stack. So because I had 1, I could then add it here because it was on the top of one of my stacks. None of my opponents did in this case, so none of them got to score anything. However, if I place this blue honor tile, then I would be able to score it, but so would both of these opponents. Now if I chose to test or play a tile, the same type, the blue honor tile here, but if I had 2 of these, now you'll see I get to take the top of each of these. So this would go here and stack, and this would go here and stack. Now see that even the one below that was blue as well, that one cannot get taken and put in the score pile, only the top ones. And so this opponent would be able to start stacking in their score pile, and this opponent would get to put 1 there. This one has no blue on the top, so they don't score anything. So turns will continue clockwise, taking one of those 3 actions, study, train, or test, until one player takes the last stack in the middle of the table. When that happens, each player gets 1 more turn, including the player that took that last stack. At the end of the game, any tiles on the top of training cards are worth nothing. Now the player with the single tallest stack of any color is going to win the game, but before you determine that, you must eliminate the player or players that have the smallest stack. Because this player has a stack of 8 in honor, and this player has a stack of 7 in strength, so you would think this player is going to win. However, when we look at this player has 3 stacks that are 2, this player has a stack that of 2, and that is among the smallest stacks that are there, so both of these players are completely eliminated and cannot win. And from the remaining players, this player has the largest stack, so they would win. Now, if all of the players tie for having at least one of the single smallest stacks, then none of the players are eliminated, and if that's the case like we have here, then this player would win because they now have the highest stack, which is 8 tall of honor. In this case, we have a tie. These 2 players are tied for the smallest stack, so both of them eliminated, leaving just these 2 players left that are in the running, and they both have a stack of 8. This player has a stack of strength of 8 and a stack of honor of 8. When it's tied, whoever has the most tiles in their hand will win. And if it's still tied, the one who played last in turn order wins. There is a variant that you can play, and it's only for 3 or 4 players. Everything in the game is the same, except at the beginning of the game, during setup, when all of the tiles are out before being stacked, each player closes their eyes, and one at a time, a player will open their eyes and pick which 3 tiles they want to have. Then they will close their eyes, and the next player will open their eyes. So only the player that's grabbing the tiles will get to see. This makes it so that the tiles that people start with in their hand are hidden throughout the game. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Senshi and get to the fun quicker than you normally would if you had to read the rulebook yourself. Now, if you have further questions about the rules, I've placed a link below me in the description of this video, and that's the best place to ask them, because not only will I be notified, but so will Arcane Wonders.